There's a strange kind of feeling we've all had at some point, that sudden wave of unease that creeps in for no clear reason, like your body reacting before your mind can catch up, sending chills down your spine and making everything feel slightly off. It's difficult to explain, but somehow there's a phrase that captures it almost perfectly, even if it sounds a little ridiculous at first. So why do we call that nervous, jittery feeling the heebie-jeebies? It sounds oddly specific, like it must have a deeper origin, yet also feels like something made up on the spot. Where did it come from and how did it stick so well? Let's take a closer look, right here, on History of Simple Things. The phrase Heebie-Jeebies feels like it should come from something ancient, maybe folklore or early superstition, but it's actually much newer than most people expect. It only dates back to the early 20th century, specifically the 1920s, which makes it relatively modern compared to many expressions about fear or anxiety. The reason it feels older is because of how it sounds, playful, rhythmic, and almost nursery-like, which gives it a timeless quality. Many expressions that describe emotions tend to evolve slowly over time, shaped by generations of use, but this one didn't follow that path. Instead, it appeared suddenly, already fully formed, with a structure that made it feel familiar from the start. The origin of Heebie-Jeebies can be traced back to American cartoonist Billy DeBeck, who introduced it in his comic strip Barney Google in 1923. DeBeck had a talent for inventing catchy, nonsense phrases that sounded memorable and expressive, and this was one of his most successful creations. In the strip, the phrase was used to describe a state of nervous fear or unease, and it immediately stood out to readers. It wasn't just the meaning that worked, it was the sound, the rhythm, and the exaggerated tone that made it feel vivid and alive. What started as a single creative choice in a comic panel quickly turned into something much larger. What makes Heebie-Jeebies especially interesting is how fast it spread beyond its original context. In the 1920s, newspapers and comic strips were a dominant form of entertainment, reaching millions of people every day. When a phrase was catchy enough, it could move rapidly from print into everyday conversation. Heebie-Jeebies had exactly the qualities needed for that kind of spread. It was easy to remember, fun to say, and filled a gap in language. Within a short time, people began using it casually, and it started appearing in headlines, conversations, and even radio. Its rise shows how powerful mass media was in shaping everyday language. A big part of why the phrase stuck comes down to how it sounds. Heebie-Jeebies follows a pattern called reduplication, where similar or rhyming words are paired together to create emphasis or rhythm. English has many examples like this, and they tend to be more memorable than standard words because they feel more expressive. In this case, the repeating sounds mirror the jittery, unsettled feeling the phrase describes. It almost feels like the word itself is trembling as you say it. That connection between sound and sensation makes it more than just a label. It becomes a kind of experience, which helps it stay in people's minds. Although it began as a humorous, exaggerated expression, Heebie-Jeebies gradually took on a more serious tone over time. People started using it to describe not just light nervousness, but deeper feelings of discomfort and unease. It could refer to the sensation of being watched, the tension of walking through a dark space, or the subtle feeling that something isn't quite right. This shift shows how language adapts based on how people use it in real situations. Even a playful phrase can evolve into something more meaningful if it consistently captures a genuine human experience that people recognize and relate to. Today, Heebie-Jeebies is still widely understood, even though most people have no idea where it originally came from. It has appeared in books, films, and everyday speech for decades, proving its staying power. Unlike many slang terms that fade quickly, this one has remained relevant because it fills a very specific emotional space. It's informal, but still precise enough to describe a feeling that other words don't fully capture. Its comic strip origins have largely faded from memory, but the phrase itself continues to live on, showing how something invented for entertainment can become a permanent part of language. The story of the Heebie-Jeebies shows how language doesn't always develop slowly over time. Sometimes it can begin in a single moment and spread simply because it works. A phrase created for a comic strip managed to capture a feeling so accurately that people kept using it, long after its origin was forgotten. Over time, it stopped feeling like an invented expression and started sounding like a natural part of how we describe discomfort and nervousness. There's something interesting about how a made-up expression can feel so natural, describing an experience that people across generations instantly understand without needing explanation. It reflects how language is shaped not just by history or rules, but by the need to express emotions in ways that feel real, shared, and immediately recognizable in everyday life. Thank you for watching. If you have suggestions for our next video, feel free to share them in the comments below. We'll be sure to give you an acknowledgement for your contribution. Thank you for joining us on this journey through the history of simple things. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and stay tuned for more stories woven through the smallest details.